We have always craved absolute answers and limitless wealth. For thousands of years, ancient kings have served as the ultimate symbols of this fantasy. King Solomon stands as the pinnacle of this myth. The Hebrew Bible says he possessed divine wisdom and collected 666 talents of gold every year. Looking at the scale of the first temple complex in Jerusalem, we get a sense of how massive this wealth was supposed to be. Then there is Alexander the Great. He dominated the map with his phalanxes, and he expected to command the world's philosophers with the same absolute authority, demanding perfect answers under the threat of death. But history offers a stark contrast to these legends. Looking at the excavated bare stone foundations here at Megiddo, a site long associated with Solomon, we find no trace of his fabled riches. And those famous philosophical dialogues of Alexander, they appear to be literary inventions written centuries later. Trying to solve these historical riddles reveals a pattern. The more we demand a single objective truth from these two kings, the more the actual history seems to evade us. In the year 326 BCE, Alexander the Great's campaign reached India. Here, he captured a group of gymnosophists, or naked philosophers, and forced them into a high-stakes trivia game. Give a wrong answer, and you face execution. Alexander issued his first perplexing challenge. Which came first, the day or the night? To survive, the captives relied on a traditional Indian literary genre known as the Upanishad. Specifically, they deployed a kuta, a conversational trap where the answer neutralizes the very premise of the question. The philosopher replied, "The day came first by one night." When Alexander expressed confusion at this paradox, the philosopher delivered the lesson. Perplexing questions demand perplexing answers. Alexander tried again, asking which animal is the cleverest. The philosopher answered, "The one humans haven't discovered yet." Faced with the philosophical paradox of the Upanishad, an absolute ruler armed with a literal sword is rendered completely useless. While Alexander tried to extract wisdom by force, modern humanity has spent centuries trying to extract biblical history using ships and shovels. This effort centers around a second great historical riddle. Where is the biblical gold of Ophir and Tarshish? Christopher Columbus treated the Bible as a literal geographic map. He used these texts to navigate to Hispaniola and Central America, convinced that these lands contained the exact source of Solomon's wealth. By the 19th century, the search shifted to Africa. The German geologist Karl Malk led an expedition deep into the interior, where he identified these ruins, the Great Zimbabwe, as the remnants of the Queen of Sheba's kingdom. Even today, the search continues. Archaeologists like Thomas Levy have scoured the arid mountains of southern Jordan, hunting for the massive copper mines that supposedly funded Solomon's empire. Yet the very concept of King Solomon's mines doesn't actually appear in the Hebrew Bible. It was popularized by a Victorian adventure novel written by H. Rider Haggard in 1885. Just as Alexander demanded a definitive answer from his captives, these explorers demanded physical proof from the earth. Both walked away with fool's gold. Outsmarted by the impossibility of his own questions, Alexander accepts defeat. He spares the Indian philosophers, gifts them clothing, and falls into a rare silence. Looking at this active excavation pit, scholars confront historical minimalism, positing the historical Solomon was a small hill chieftain, not a golden emperor. Despite decades of digging and radiocarbon dating, the archaeological record refuses to yield physical proof of a massive empire. We have to stop treating ancient, genre-driven texts, whether they are Indian Upanishads or the Hebrew Bible, as literal treasure maps. Alexander wanted a world without riddles, and Columbus wanted a world where every biblical promise was a physical location. They were both trying to force the vastness of the world into the narrow confines of their own certainty. The true value of these stories does not lie in locating a physical copper mine or learning the clever answer to a trivia question. True wisdom begins the exact moment we stop grasping for absolute certainty, put down our swords, and humbly accept the limits of human knowledge.